RB Leipzig are struggling. The controversial German club owned by the Red Bull supergroup have been on a meteoric rise in recent years, going from the lower divisions to the Bundesliga, where despite a lot of protests against them, they've managed some recent high finishes, like being runners-up in 2021 and winning the Pokal in 2022 and 2023. This year though, the club find themselves in 6th position, and a Champions League exit in the league phase has meant their manager Marco Rose has been sacked, and that means it's time for me to step in as manager of the club to try and deliver them their first Bundesliga trophy. And like I say, this is a controversial team that goes against what many consider the traditional values of German football, but the 2009 founded club do have some fantastic facilities and offer us a very strong foundation to build on in terms of winning the league. And despite the club being founded not long ago, they are starting to fill out their trophy cabinet, and as you can see, it's been a pretty big rise for the club, who now find themselves regularly competing at the top of the division. And while there's certainly some valid criticisms of this team, one thing that I will say is they do have a lot of great young players that could be superstars in the future for us to work with. Dutch midfielder Xavi Simons needs no introduction, nor does the highly coveted forward Benjamin Šeško or Belgian speedster Louis Openda, but it doesn't stop there, because young French centre-back Castello Luqueba could go to the very top, and there's also huge hope for Belgian midfielder Arthur Vermeeren, as well as one of Germany's brightest prospects in Asanu Drago. So clearly Leipzig like to buy these young players, and that's the challenge I'm going to set on myself in this video. I will not sign a player over the age of 23, and I still want to try and deliver not just the Bundesliga, but the Champions League in 5 years as manager of the club. And winning the league instantly isn't necessarily off the table. In fact, Leipzig are considered the 4th best team in the division according to Football Manager, with Dortmund, Leverkusen and Bayern Munich expected to finish above us, but that's a good place to start and shows that clearly there is a very good side here, and one that at minimum should be qualifying for the UCL. And whilst Leipzig have done most of their transfer business already, we will be able to put our own spin on the club, because there's still £12 million of budget left and 65 grand in the wages. And the board seem to want the same thing we do, because they are also looking for us as a requirement to sign players under the age of 23, and they want us to sell players for a profit too. So not only do we want to try and win things in this rebuild, but we want to create a super squad of Wonderkids and become one of the world's best in very little time. It's going to be tough, but we'll give it our best shot, and we've already got some good budgets to start working with to try and bring some players in. So let's see what we can do in the first transfer window. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but in this first transfer window, I've already managed to move a few players on, but also, more crucially, I've bought 2 players in who could be the future of this club. Let's start with the outgoings though, where I've let the young Norwegian Antonio Nusa go out on loan for the season to Heidenheim, a club in the Bundesliga. It'll be good for him to get some football in this league before integrating him into our squad. And it's a similar story for Arthur Vermeeren, who goes to Bochum in the Bundesliga as well for the season. There's no optional fee for them to sign him, but they are paying around 1.4 million for the season, so we make a bit of cash and get to see him develop. In terms of a permanent sale, I did manage to shift on our 3rd choice goalkeeper Leopold Zingerl, who I just didn't really want at the club when you see who he signed in a second, so for that reason we've let him go for 200k to Groningen. And our final bit of outgoing business sees young French defender El Shadil Bitshiabu, formerly of PSG, going out on loan for the year to Werder Bremen, again a Bundesliga loan for a player that hopefully will come back more ready for our first team. But that's the outgoings. I of course said we have signed 2 players that I think have a bright future at the club, so let's start with the first one. And that is the young goalkeeper Dennis Simon, who we have gone ahead and signed for only 2.5 million from Stuttgart, expected to be the future of Germany's goalkeeping position. We have picked him up for a cheap fee, made him available for our under-19s for now. He'll be our 3rd choice, but we do have an older goalkeeper currently starting, so hopefully we soon start to see him integrated as our number 1. And then for the rest of my budget, around 50 million, I've gone out and bought another number 10 in the form of Fermin. The 21-year-old Spaniard has signed from Barcelona for 14.5 million. Yes, it is a lot of money, but I see quality here. And when you see the system that we're playing, the tactic that we're using, you'll understand why I felt like we needed another number 10. Because I'm trying something a little bit different in this rebuild, I'm going for a formation I've never used before in a 4-2-2 with some roles as well that I wouldn't normally go for. before, it's a 2-striker system with 2 attacking midfielders and 2 DMs, and we're not really using any kind of wide play. But let's introduce you to our best 11 in this current system that we're playing. In goal is the older goalkeeper that I mentioned in Peter Gulacsi, a 34-year-old Hungarian who likely won't be around for too long. At right back we have Benjamin Henriks, who is probably going to be a staple of this team for a while, and another Hungarian in the 31-year-old defender and leader of the club, Willi Orban. We then see Lukeba as the other defender who we've already met, and David Raum positioning himself on the left side of that defence, age 26, a German international and a very good player. Recent signing Luciel Gertrude is another brilliant option that we have, who can play both DM, right back and centre back. And he's likely to be partnered in the base of that midfield by Javer Schläger, the 26-year-old midfielder. Then we have Christoph Baumgartner as our best attacking midfielder alongside Xavi Simons, who of course we know. And then up front, supposedly our best forward line is Andre Silva and Lois Openda, but for me, I'm going to try and play Šeško there as often as possible, get him adapted to that role, and this is what is currently considered our best 11. Some good players throughout the team as well who we haven't mentioned, the likes of Yusuf Poulsen, who now 30 years of age might not be so reliable anymore, Kevin Campbell, the Slovenian 33-year-old, and Radeli Baku, who, if you know from my Wolfsburg save years ago, is a brilliant fullback. But this is the team we've now assembled. Obviously Firmin will be sprinkled in some minutes there too, and actually our odds have gone up slightly from what I believe were 15-1 to now 13-1, so clearly our transfer business has at least had a little bit of an impact, but only time will tell if we've got it right as we go ahead in our first season. Maybe we can get off to a great start and win the league straight away, but that might be wishful thinking. And already in my first season, this Leipzig side is already proving that they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in Germany, but also in world football. Now I say that, but much like real life, we did struggle on a European front as we didn't make it out of a league phase, and at one point we lost 6-0 to Real Madrid, but we did prove we were going to be one of Germany's strongest sides as we beat Bayern Munich at home 5-0. Unfortunately though, beating them 5-0 wasn't enough to beat them to the title as we finished our first season in 2nd place, 1 point ahead of Borussia Dortmund and 11 points away from eventual winners Bayern. We drew 7, lost 6, but we did have 2 of the best goal scorers in the league, so that's at least something. So a 2nd place finish is obviously a great start, but there was one other competition we were playing in this season, and that was the DFB Pokal. And after some brilliant performances in early rounds, we made it to a semi-final against Hertha Berlin, who we dispatched 2-1, which led to a final match up against Kaiserslautern, a 2nd division team that we expected to beat, and we got off to a flyer through Šeško early on, and we finished a deal later on as a deflected shot from Lukeba found the back of the net, and that meant in our first season we've already secured our first trophy. Granted, it's not the one we're after, and it is one that Leipzig have already won on 2 occasions, but to add a 3rd to the cabinet is certainly something that I'm happy with. And we really did have some top performers this year that we can build around for the future. Obviously Benjamin Šeško is a player we want to hang on to after 28 goals in 45 appearances. Openda managed to score 23, and Baumgartner managed to get 10 in that attacking midfield spot, while Xavi Simons scored 8 and was crucial in everything that we did in this system. Our new signing Firmin did pretty well too, and actually our 2nd best player this year was the left back David Raum, who got 12 assists in 29 games and nearly a 7.5 average match rating, so well done to him. Clearly we have a good left back on our hands, but our team has done very well here, and it leads now to a 2nd season where we already have a big budget of 35 million. So obviously this is now where the fun begins. We have a real budget to work with, we can sell some players, bring some players in, and hopefully make a side that can try and win that Bundesliga title, but also give a little bit of a better representation in European football. Okay, normally it takes a few seasons for this to happen, but already in Season 2, we have had a mega window. Over £100 million worth of sales, some big players leaving, and we spent £100 million on bringing in some of the best Wonderkids in the world. If you are enjoying up to this point, or you just want to be nice, so make sure you hit that like button for me, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let me know down below who you want to see next in this rebuild series. All the support is much appreciated, but let's take a look firstly at who we sold. I'm going to run through these quite quickly to start with. with because there was a lot of sales. Firstly, one of our keepers, Blasvik, has gone out to play for Al Khalij in Saudi for 900k. Kevin Campbell has left age 34 to go and sign for Altai as he wanted a new challenge. Antonio Nusa has left the club as well. He's someone that, being a wide player, wouldn't really suit our system, and our scouts weren't really saying he was very good anyway, so to get 2.8 million rising potentially to 9 from Chelsea, I thought was a good bit of business. Andre Silva has also moved on. As we get into the bigger fees now, he goes to Aston Villa for about £10 million with all the fees included. And Javier Schläger, in the last year of his deal, wasn't really valued very high, so when United came in for 9 million, it was the best we could really get for a guy who had said he wasn't going to sign a new deal anyway. Lucas Klosterman has also moved on to go and play for Al Qadsiya again out in Saudi Arabia for a fee of 15 million, having been at Leipzig for many a year now. He wanted a new challenge also, so off he goes. But the big sale was one taken out of my hands and one that I would never have made if I had the choice. It's Lois Openda. He's gone to play for PSG over in France for a fee of 73 million. It was a release clause in his contract that was activated as soon as the season was done. After 17 goals and 9 assists, he goes back to France now, where he already did so well for Lens. So there we go. Lois Openda has left, and of course that meant we now had a bunch of money to spend on new players coming in. But if you enjoy this rebuild and you'd like to give it a go yourself, just to let you know, there's a Patreon linked in the description. It is genuinely the best way to support me as a creator. For those 30 odd people who financially support me over there, it really does mean the world. If you want to check it out, not only do you support me, but in return you get access to the save files from every rebuild that we've ever done for you guys to download and either continue these rebuilds after we're done or try and do a better job than I have. On top of that, you get to watch these rebuilds early. They're posted up on there usually a day or two before. There's also rebuild polls. I'm going to be doing a Q&A over there as well, an extra special video for those Patreon members. So if you want to get involved, come check it out. I'll stop doing the plugs now though. Let's get into who we sign. And remember, we are certainly looking for Wonderkids in this save, and I think we've picked up a great one in Noah Darvik, an 18-year-old German player who we signed from Barcelona for 9 million quid, where he is one of their best talents. Formerly of Freiburg, we've now loaned him out to Nuremberg for the year in the top division of German football to continue his growth. With Andre Silva leaving, I felt like we needed another striker who could operate as almost that backup choice in both positions, so I've gone out and bought 23-year-old Malian El Bilal Torre, signing from Atalanta over in Italy for 13 million. They signed him for 25, loaned him out to Stuttgart, where he proved to be okay. Our scouts liked him, and I think he's going to be a nice physical presence to have in that complete forward role. Our defence was bolstered with the signing of William Pacho. We've bought him in for a fee of around 16 million from PSG, who signed him and then never really used him. They had him on the transfer list, so we went in and bought the guy who clearly could go on to be a very good centre-back at a Bundesliga level. But then we get on to the big signings, where I've bought in our new replacement for Lois Openda in Vitor Roque. The Brazilian did not have a good time of it at Barcelona and ended up going out on loan to Real Betis and then back to Palmeiras over in Brazil for a big fee, and we've gone in and signed him for £27 million, which is a lot of money for a young striker that isn't necessarily ready to go just yet, but I think he could be the future of that striker position. I think he could be a Brazil international on a regular basis in the future, and the fact he's valued at 60 million with huge potential makes me think we might have got this one right. But really good young fullbacks are hard to come by, so when Amar Dedik was brought towards us by RB Salzburg, our sister club, I thought, you know what, we need to bring him in. He can play left back and right back at the best level really in our club already. He's only 22, and the Bosnian has signed for 30 million quid. Again, was at Salzburg, but got loaned out to Marseille in Ligue 1 last season, where he was very, very good considering he's so young. So we've paid 30 million for him. It's a lot of money, but he's a player who's good with both feet and can operate in either fullback slot, so I'm very happy with that signing. And if we take a look now, our best 11 is looking pretty different actually from what we initially inherited, because some players came back from loans, some have developed and got better, but let's get into it. The back four and goalkeeper is still the same, but we now see Haidara coming into the midfield ahead of Schläger, who's of course left the club. Baumgartner and Simmons are our best attacking midfielders, but Šeško is now supposedly partnered by Timo Werner, who comes back from a loan spell at Tottenham for a few years, having not done too much over in the Premier League, and he is apparently now going to be one of our better striker options. But for me, I want to see Vitor Roque play, I want to see him develop, and Werner, if he wants to, can come off the bench. But this is our team now. Whether the game thinks it's got stronger is another question. It actually thinks we're now 12 to 1 odds, so it does think with a third place predicted finish that we have improved, but Bayern Munich are expected to cruise it yet again. I'm not necessarily sure whether our team will be better straight away, but long term term, I definitely think we've signed some players that for the future can definitely turn into world superstars, but time will tell how they can do in Season 2. And to be honest, in our second year here, I think we can say it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We weren't exactly great in the Pokal, getting knocked out in the second round to Holstein Kiel, a team we should definitely beat, and the Bundesliga, well, you'll see in a second, but at least in Europe, we had a better performance making it out of the league phase and into the knockout playoff rounds up against Atletico Madrid. And having drew 2-2 away at their stadium, they came to Germany and we dispatched them in a brilliant 4-0 win. And that led to a round of 16 clash against Spurs, who at our stadium did go 1-0 up, but we quickly were able to hit back in what was eventually a brilliant 4-2 win at home, leading to the away leg in England. But it was there where it was proven to me that we might not be at the level I thought we were, because we had no shots all game, lost 3-0, and that was us out of the Champions League. So no Pokal win, no real great performance in the UCL either. In the Bundesliga, it wasn't the best. Because whilst we finished exactly where we expected to, and we were only 6 points off the title, Bayern Munich have won it again, and this time we finished in third place, with Dortmund finishing 2 points ahead of us. We were clearly the best three teams in the competition, but I really want to be at least in second place, especially after last year, and especially with Leverkusen having such a bad year also, with 15 draws. I really thought this could be the season where we kick on, but it wasn't to be. Yes, we've got a few more points than before, but we're still not winning the title. We're in third place, and the performances this year weren't as good either. I mean, Benjamin Šeško, yes, he was good with 20 goals in 44 appearances, and David Raum continued to be great at left back, but I mean, there was 13 goals from Bilal Torre, 17 from Vitor Roque, Xavi Simons got 15 himself, which is great, but I don't really think it was as good of a year. I think we definitely need to improve. Firmin did pretty well with 11 goals, but his general play maybe wasn't the best. But we are now heading into our next window with a big budget, 54 million and 500 grand of wages. I feel like this is where we really need to start getting it right, because in this kind of rebuild where we're signing Wonderkids, it's not like we sign them and we're instantly going to be good. If we want to be good in Season 5, it's really these players that we sign in Season 3 that are going to be helping us by then. So we've got to get our business right, else this could go wrong and we might end up achieving barely anything as Leipzig boss. And in Season 3, we've definitely gone for quality over quantity. I've signed some big prospects for the future, but before we get into that, we did have the Club World Cup this season during our transfer window, and we did pretty well. In the quarter-final, we managed to beat Bayern Munich with a fantastic 6-1 win. Up next was Inter Milan, and granted, they might not have had their best team out in this competition, but we managed 30 shots and comfortably beat them 2-1. And in the final, we faced off against Barcelona, and a brilliant header from El Bilal Torre won us the game, and that secured us our first bit of European silverware. Now, was the Club World Cup something we were aiming for? No. Is it something I ever normally win? No, but we've gone and done it, and we have a brilliant trophy now in the cabinet alongside that Pokal that we won in Season 1. Back to the sales though, Timo Werner didn't really do anything for us last year, left at the end of his contract to go play for El Arabi in Qatar. And then the only actual sale of decent value was Eljif Ilmaz. He's a North Macedonian international who the club have signed from Napoli in real life, but was out on loan at Torino in year 1. I then loaned him out to Sporting Club in year 2, and now we sold him for 7 million to Al Fayha in Saudi Arabia. Coming in, I've bought in Anan Kalali, who is a player that I've kind of signed just to sell for profit. He's not really going to feature in our team with the position he is, but he was available as a free agent from Union Saint-Gilloise out in Belgium, so we picked him up, and hopefully now we can sell him on for some cash in a few years. But in terms of real key signings, there were 3, and I think we've got quality here. The first one is Franco Mastantuono, the Argentinian 18-year-old who we have signed from River Plate and loaned him back there for the season for only 8 million. He's really about to burst onto the scene now, I think, with the potential and the ability he's got. He'll be in River Plate's first team, and this is where his development will hopefully go through the roof. We keep in touch with our sister club, Salzburg, though, and signing another player from their ranks, bringing in 23-year-old Lucas Guana Dwarf before it was too late, and he was 24, so we've signed him for £35 million. Yes, it's a lot of money, but in terms of DMs out there wasn't many I could find, and I feel like he suits our team perfectly in that Segundo Volante role and the anchor that I'm using in this system. But my biggest signing was our new long-term centre-back in Ousmane Diomande. Willy Orban is not going to be playing for much longer, I don't think, so he has been signed for a release clause fee of £44 million from Sporting Club de Portugal, where of course, as many of you will already know, he is one of the best young ball-playing defenders in the world, an Ivorian international, and one of the best players in our team already. And our best 11 at this stage is now now starting to show some changes from what we initially had. In goal, it's Van der Voort, with Gulashi now retiring. He is our best goalkeeper, but Dennis Simon and him will compete, the two young goalkeepers, for that spot, I am sure. At right back, it's Hendricks. Diamonde and Luke Haber is a very good young centre-back partnership with Raum in that left-back spot, but I imagine Amar Dedic will want to be in that team in some way. We then got Gertrude and Guana Dwarf as a very good midfield pairing. Again, some youth in there. Xavi Simons, Baumgartner, Šeško and Roque finish the rest of the team. Vitor Roque developing very nicely in that striker spot. But there is one issue, and that is Xavi Simons, who has a year left on his deal and is refusing to sign a new contract. Now, I'll keep going throughout the season, keep trying to offer him a new deal, but there's a good chance we lose this guy. In fact, I have tried to sell him multiple times this window, but no one's coming in for him. All of the big clubs know they can get him for free if they hold out. So the 23-year-old, as good as he is, might not be around much longer. But that is our team ready to go for our third season here now as Leipzig manager. We're previewed to finish in second place, 7-1 odds. Clearly the transfers we've made are the best that we've done so far, because now we are expected to be right up there, and I want to see it happen. Our team is ready to go. It's a young squad that's only going to get better. Maybe this is the year that it clicks. And in our third season at the club, it was filled with some disappointment and some highs. When it comes to the Pokal, again, we exited early. When it comes to the Champions League, we made the round of 16, no knockout playoff round required this time, we smashed it, only to lose to Ajax. And that's a team that I think we should definitely be beating. So at that point, it wasn't looking great. But as the season went on, we stayed in the title race, and come the last day of the season, if we won, we could win the title. Our opponents were a team that I hold very close to my heart in German football, in Wolfsburg. And we managed to get 1-0 up pretty early on as Baumgartner scored from close range. A corner after only 10 minutes found the head of Benjamin Šeško, who powered home. And a Baumgartner pass all the way through to Vitor Roque allowed us to go 3-0 up. Now Wolfsburg were able to pull one goal back as the ball came out to Kaminski, but we were okay from there. And we managed to seal the deal late on as Firmin managed to play the ball in to Vitor Roque, once again getting in behind, powering home. That made it 4-1, and that meant that we had won the Bundesliga title in what was a very competitive league season, because we narrowly edged Bayern Munich by 1 point to the title, and Dortmund were only 3 points behind us with 75. It seems like this is the kind of points total you need to win the Bundesliga, but we have finally done it in our third year, and now we have 2 more seasons, hopefully, to win more Bundesligas, but also start to push on for the UCL. We were right up there until the very last minute. Bayern Munich pushed us all the way. In fact, in one of their last games, they managed to beat us 3-2, and in their second to last league match, they beat Stuttgart 10-0, and this is a Stuttgart team that finished 13th. They weren't exactly relegation fodder, but it didn't matter. We were able to do it. As you can see, we struggled in the other competitions, but this was a great year for us. In fact, if we look at the best performers, there was 35 goals from Šeško. He really turned up. 16 from Xavi Simons, who, by the way, there's no spoilers here. This guy has decided he will not be staying with us, and he's going to join Barcelona, the club where I think he came through. Yes, he did, during his academy days, so good luck to him. He at least won us the title before he left us, but it's a shame we couldn't get any money for him. Vitor Roque scored 30, and hopefully Franco Mastantuono can come in and fill in that Simmons role. El Belal Torre, credit to him, scored 10, continuing to score off those bench positions, and then Lucas Guana Dwarf had a good year in that midfield, and now we head into season 4 with £82 million. Yes, the wage budget maybe needs to move around a little bit, but there you go, we've done it. £74 million to spend, and that means we can sign some real top talents for our team now, obviously under the age of 23, that can hopefully guide us to another Bundesliga trophy and maybe Champions League glory. So, we've now won the Bundesliga and we want to push on for more. With the Champions League in our sights now, I feel like we needed some big signings to make it happen, and I think we've just signed a superstar. But of course, we have lost one too. Let's not forget Xavi Simons, who I mentioned earlier, has gone to Barcelona on a free. He refused to sign a new deal, and off he goes, and he's now valued at 200 million. Arthur Vermeeren, I'm not quite sure is going to make it. He's been out on loan for the last few years and never really done too much at Bochum, Stuttgart, and now he's gone to Antwerp, where they have an option, if they want to, for about 5 million to buy the guy back. Willy Orban has also left on a permanent deal, signing for Altai in Saudi Arabia for 1.5 million, having only started started 13 games last year. He wanted a new challenge, and good luck to him. And Adel Baku has also left the club. He's been our backup right back for a number of years, but often not really played much at all, as you can see. Last season only played once off the bench, and for that reason he wanted out. So when Alrayed came in for 6 million, it made sense to me with only a year left on his contract. And for those wondering as well, Ilyas Moriba, one of our better young players from the start of this save, has been consistently loaned out year upon year to hopefully keep getting better. And then Anan Kalaili, the guy that we signed earlier, has gone out on loan to Stuttgart for the season, and again the idea is eventually we'll sell him for a permanent deal. Coming in, we bought 2 new gens, so if you do continue this save over on Patreon, you'll have some great young players in your ranks. Alongside the ones we already have, we have signed 19-year-old Stefan Almers, a future German international I'm sure, from PSV Eindhoven for 19.5 million, and he is a very good defensive midfielder and could grow into one of the world's best. We've got a new right back as well in the form of Reina van den Ing, who is a 19-year-old Dutch under-21 right back who we have signed from Sparta Rotterdam for 19 million quid and loaned him back out there for the year. Another one I think in some time could be one of the world's best in his position. But the superstar signing is a bargain, the £90 million valuation Jean Neves, who we have signed from PSG on the transfer list for 29.5 million, rising to 34. What a deal this is for a man that hasn't even not been part of their team. He's been playing regularly and doing really well, so God knows why he's available so cheap. But we have bought him in and we get ourselves a fantastic midfield talent. And here is what we are now left with our best 11. It's been pretty hard to find a good young goalkeeper, so Dennis Simon continues growing in the net, and actually he's starting to get pretty good, so I'm going to keep the faith in him for now. Gertruida, Diamonde, Lukeba and Dedic is a fantastic young defence with Guanadov, Haidora, Baumgartner, Neves and then Šeško and Roque ahead of them in a very good team. Lots of good players throughout the bench and reserves as well that we're continuing to develop, but that first 11 I think is unbelievably good and some of the world's best youngsters. We've now got 6-1 odds of winning the title. We've got 2 of the best players in the division, and I'm hoping we can once again win the Bundesliga and secure back-to-back trophies whilst also hopefully pushing for that UCL. Only time will tell though if we can win that European trophy, but with 2 years left, it's kind of now or never. And this year in the Champions League, we took a big step. We got past Ajax this time, the team that we got knocked out by before, and we were once again in the round of 16, but unfortunately, it was a very tough tie against Manchester City. But for the first time in a Champions League match against a highly ranked Premier League club, we were able to get a win, as Firmin found Yannick Eduardo, who fired him from range for a 1-0 home victory. Away from home at the Etihad though, it was a little bit of a different story, as Theo Hernandez managed to play a cross in to Bukayo Saka, yes, in a Man City team, to make it 1-1. And at this point, it could have gone either way. Any team could have made the quarter-final, but a Doku ball found Erling Haaland, who of course finished, and that meant we came crashing out again in the round of 16 of the UCL, and we're showing no sign really of getting further yet, even if we did manage to finally get a win against English opposition. But don't worry everyone, it is not all doom and gloom, because despite not having an out-and-out goal scorer in the Bundesliga this year, we have won the competition yet again, Bayern Munich having a poor year and leading to us winning the title again on 78 points, with Dortmund only 1 point behind us on 77. We lost 4 all season, drew 6 and had a brilliant goal difference. It was a really good year and a second Bundesliga title as we start to become the dominant side in the nation. Šeško scored 20 and Baumgartner stepped up in Simon's absence with 20 goals himself. We saw Amar Dedic and Guanadov, our 2 former Salzburg men, doing really well too, whilst Vitor Roque had a great year and Jean Neves was brilliant in his first season at the club, proving we did get a bargain after all. Yannick Eduardo as well, this young 22-year-old Czech forward who has been at Leipzig since the start of this save, did well with around 11 goals in all comps, and genuinely I think we're going in the right direction. Despite the fact that the Champions League isn't coming yet, I feel like this squad is just ready to burst. Like, we have got some fantastic players all at a good age now as they start to head towards their primes, where hopefully we'll start seeing them really tear it up. But we go into our final season with a £77 million transfer budget, lots in the wages too. The club facilities are looking good as well, as hard as they have been to work on because the board have been pretty tight with it, but we do have a 4.5-star reputation. Financially, we've done all of this whilst having a big balance at the club and nothing in the debts and loans. The only issue we had this year was Franco Mastantuono didn't really appear too much for the first team because he was in the development team and I forgot to take him out, but we'll forget about that. Now he's going to be promoted to the first team and hopefully start to perform well. We are also seeing a lot of our players that we're using currently start to make it into the favoured personnel sections and whatnot, so hopefully that will keep going. But now it's time for our 5th and final transfer window, and we really need to sign some stars if we're going to make it work in our last year. And genuinely, for anyone that continues this on Patreon, we have just signed probably the best set of Wonderkids I've ever signed in a rebuild. So these lot have a bright, bright future. If you're still watching to this point, you're either enjoying yourself or you're pretty bored. So if you could smash that like button, I massively appreciate it. But let's check out the transfers at the club. Going out the door, though, were two main first team members. The first one was Benjamin Henriks, who has gone to sign for Porto for 7 million quid, having been with us for a number of years. He was a great servant, but it was time for him to move on. And David Raum also wanted to try a new challenge, so he heads to Portugal as well, but this one is signing for Benfica for 11 million. He was playing quite a lot for us over the years, but only started 9 games last year. He believes he's better than that, and granted, he probably is. We've just got so many good players in those areas. But let's get into these new gens that I've signed that I think could go to the very top. We've got a left winger who we've loaned back out to Victoria Pleasant, who I could not pass up over in the Czech divisions for only 7 million. Our scouts seem to think he could go right to the very top, and I'm hoping that'll be the case. A player that's coming in to help the first team, though, is our new number 9, Rafael, the 19-year-old Brazilian attacking midfielder who we have picked up from Coritiba in Brazil for 15 million quid, and I think he, with lots of game time already under his belt, is probably the best of all the ones that we've signed. Speaking of Brazilian players, though, we have signed a certified wonderkid, a new gen 18-year-old Brazilian international at left back. You can't really ask for too much more than that. Already good enough for our team with the potential to be world class. We signed him from Fluminense for a 14 million pound fee, where he's already been far too good for the Brazilian league, so hopefully he'll be just as good for us. His name is Dena Viana, and he is worth now 50 million. And then there's Leandro Bruno, who we've loaned back out to Boca Juniors, where we've signed him from a future world-class right back, a wonder kid, an Argentinian international at 19, who we pick up for 30 million and loan back out for the season. I have no doubt he will be a regular in our first team when he joins us, and arguably could have joined us now, but he hasn't just yet. And as we finish, let's take a look at our final best 11. If we see what we've got in those positions, it's Dennis Simon in goal, who has turned out to be a very good goalkeeping option. At right back, it's Gertruida with Diamonde, Lukeba and Dedic as probably the world's best young defence. Jean Neves and Luca Guana-Duaf is a brilliant midfield pair, with Fermin and Baumgartner ahead of them. Probably the one position in the team that could do with some work, but I feel like it's going to be okay, with Franco Mastantuono, Aldrago as well, who's continued to develop, Noah Darvic in there as well. We have a young player from the academy as well called Diedrich, who many clubs have been trying to buy off us, who could go to the very top in that position. And realistically, if we also find our new signing in Rafael, that could be a very good forward line in a few years. Eduardo and Roque is supposedly our best 11, but we know Šeško is better for that forward spot. Šeško and Roque, the ideal forward partnership in a brilliant young side that we're hoping in our final year can win the UCL. We've got the Wonderkids to do it, but are they going to turn up in our final season? Let's see what they can do in year 5. And normally in our 5th and final year, it's where I go, we finally did it, we won this, but it's been quite a disappointing one. In fact, in the Pokal, we got knocked out early, so there'll be no extra Pokal win in this save. In the league, we didn't end up winning it. Bayern Munich had a brilliant 90-point season, so all of our sights were on the Champions League, where actually we've done better than ever before. Because in the round of 16, we faced off against Real Madrid, and it was late on in the match when Rafael scored a brilliant winner, and that led to a quarter-final clash against Barcelona, who we managed to beat 5-4 on aggregate, and again, it was Rafael with the winning goal. And in the semi-final, we faced off against Inter Milan, and with a 1-goal advantage in the last minutes, they sent up their goalkeeper from the corner, he got caught out, Benjamin Šeško managed to roll his man, and I was thinking, please just shoot, and eventually he got the message, hit a long shot, it went past Mere in the goal, and we won to head to a Champions League final. And out of all the clubs we were against, it's a team that we've been consistently beating in this rebuild in Borussia Dortmund, an all-German final clash. And it led to what was arguably the greatest Champions League final of all time, the traditional German club in Dortmund against a club that many people think are the antithesis of German football really, in RB Leipzig, and we went 1-0 up early on, Fermin with the goal there, and it wasn't long after only 30 minutes before we made it 2. Fermin Lopez into Dedic, and I thought this was going to be an easy day as Vitor Roque tapped home, but Dortmund were not giving in, and Jamie Bino Gittins in the 38th minute managed to curl it onto his right and score to make it 2-1. Before the half-time whistle though, Šeško found the back of the net, that was 3-1, but I do not know what was said to the Dortmund team at half-time, because within 50 seconds of a restart, Gio Reyna managed to play through Adeyemi, who scored his first of the game. Spoilers incoming. Because only a couple minutes later, a ball came came in and Teles Magno headed home, and that made it 3-3 and into extra time we went, where clearly it was another good team talk because in no time the Ranville found Adeyemi for his second, and if conceding after 20 seconds in extra time wasn't already enough, Julian Brandt found Adeyemi, who managed to get his third of the game, tucking it past Seaman, and we were now 2 behind. But with the scores at 5-3, we weren't giving in, and with only 5 minutes left on the clock, Amar Dedic managed to really pull one back as Rafael made it 5-4. And at this point, of course, we had to go for it. Many of our players were sent forward, and I thought we might counter for a goal, but Adeyemi found space in behind, as he did all game, scored his 4th of the game. The former Red Bull Salzburg man scoring 4 against a fellow-owned Red Bull team in Leipzig. He managed to help them win 6-4. We lost the Champions League final in an all-timer match, and I just could not believe we couldn't get over the line. Bear in mind, this is a Dortmund team we've been smashing all year. I mean, Adeyemi had a brilliant season, but we've been beating them every year in this rebuild. But now, even though we're 9 points ahead of them, we've eventually lost the Champions League and lost the Bundesliga to Bayern as well, who had a brilliant season. Harry Kane stepping up and dragging his club over the line. But it is what it is, I guess. You can't always win them all, and this just proves to you that some people say, oh, you must cheat for some of these rebuilds to get it the way you want. They only say that on the rebuilds that go well. Some rebuilds definitely don't. I mean, yes, we have won the Bundesliga, and we've won the Pokal, and we've won the Bundesliga twice, and the Club World Cup, but I wanted the UCL, and we've lost it 6-4 in a final. So annoying. Vitor Roque, though, had his best year yet, 31 goals. You can take a look at some of the other goal scorers, Šeško, Baumgartner, and Rafael doing really well for us. In fact, he is going to be a world-class player, I am sure. If we have a look at the club itself, you can now see there are some new names, with Benjamin Šeško being a legend of the club now, despite being considered by the game not actually that good, but I think he's been great. We're on the favoured personnel list with David Ram and Baumgartner, and then we can also see Willy Orban has made it onto the icon list, next to Peter Galacsi in goal as well. But there we go, the rebuild is complete. Financially, we have done great things for the club. We finally won the Bundesliga, but there's still a step to go. So if you want to try it out on Patreon or just support me, you can find that in the description. Like the video if you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.